if they're healthy at receiver, he's not going to be out there 80% of the snaps. That's just not going to happen. But I'll be curious to see if he's somebody who gains trust as the year goes on and maybe gets more and more recognition offensively.
5 things to watch here on KC Sports Network, getting you ready for Chiefs versus Seahawks on Friday night. You are getting a variety of pet perspectives from people here at KC Sports Network, getting you ready for this game. It's brought to you by Batchelder Family Farms. You can now order Batchelder's fresh farm-raised products online in just a few clicks. You can also find their bison at the Overland Park Farmers Market and the River Market on Saturdays, where they sell their pasture-raised beef, bison, jerky, and eggs. Finally, you can visit their farm store for the freshest cuts and other locally sourced products Wednesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at 20810 South Prospect Avenue in Belton, Missouri. We are kicking things off. The KC Laboratory guys kicking things off, myself and Maddie Lane. Maddie, how hyped are you for preseason game number 2 at 10 o'clock your time?
Listen, buddy, I am ready. I am so ready to watch the starters for the first. I am so ready to watch some of the starters and some of the backups for the first quarter of this game before I roll over and fall asleep seeing everything that I need to and catch back up the next day. No, there's definitely some stuff about this game that I want to see. And the preseason for me is almost always about like the young guys, a lot of the rookies, a lot of the new players, second year guys, and what they can do. So it's not that big of a deal that we might not see a lot of starters in this game, although it's nice to see Patrick Mahomes go out there and sling the rock around a little bit. And we probably won't get that this week, which is unfortunate for a game starting at 10. Hey, maybe that's why he's not playing. Maybe they said, we don't need to have our starters play this late at night. Let's get out of here with that.
Yeah, they're just trying to get them ready for Brazil time, and that was just going to disrupt things too much. I don't even know. Is Brazil the same time, though?
Pretty sure it's the same time.
Okay, well, we tried. Geography ain't my strong suit. But we're going to try to find out if the left side of the offensive line is a strong suit for the Kansas City Chiefs. You're talking about starters playing and how much time we're going to get to see some of these guys. But this is a very fresh, young offensive line on the left side with Kingsley Suamataia at left guard. And, of course, the greatest tackle in the history of the world, Josh Simmons, over at the left tackle position. You know, we're trying to get some idea of what these guys are capable of. We're trying to get a larger sample size so we can evaluate them. And it's been fascinating to see, like, the Chiefs' approach with this. Last week, they both get 11 snaps in week 1 of the preseason. And I think we're all hoping to see a larger sample size and maybe some more meaningful concepts plays for this group, for the left side of this offensive line.
Yeah, before we get yelled at, apparently the game in Brazil is an hour later than Eastern time zone. So it is, that's still the wrong way. Either way. Yeah, we are excited to see the left side. We got to see a glimpse of them against Arizona. And I don't think the Chiefs really challenged their young offensive linemen. They went out there, they played, but they had an RPO. They had a couple like draw or delay runs. Some of their pass plays were off of play action on rundowns, or they had some chip ups. Like, it wasn't bad. There's nothing wrong with it. But I don't think they were overly challenged. I would really like to see Simmons and Kingsley play in this game, and very specifically those two guys, and just see some just traditional 5-7 step drop back stuff, and just see what it looks like. Let them get some one-on-one pass rush reps where they actually have to, slide out, mirror rusher, get their hands on them, hold onto the block for a second, because like this is the only time they're going to get that experience, not in practice, but before the season starts. And then during the season, there's going to be multiple times in a game where they're going to have to do those things. So I just want to see them like really get out there and get challenged in pass protection. Wouldn't mind seeing some more, gap scheme run stuff, watch them work on some double teams a little bit more. I think they did a pretty good job on the one we saw for the RPO that ended up being on the Tyquan Thornton defensive pass interference play. But we also saw Kingsley, I think, start to slip off of it just because they were slightly off. And so just see some more time for those two to gel, get used to where each other are going to be at on some of those combo blocks, who's climbing, what it feels like, from their and their own mental timing process, just to know what they're doing, because they haven't got to do it yet. One's a rookie, one's a second-year player switching positions. I do think they need that experience.
And they're going to get a variety of looks with this defensive line. You're going to get some lighter speed rushers that you're going to see from the Seattle Seahawks, just to, even depending on who they play. Like they've got Uchenna Nwosu, Boye Mafe, Derek Hall, some speedier rushers, some guys that can get up the arc and threaten you there. And then DeMarcus Lawrence. But you've also got the Jaron Reed, Byron Murphy, Leonard Williams. Like there's if those guys play, like I think you can get a variety of looks and body types that they're going to just kind of get to line up against. And so, like, I think you some different concepts too. Like if you see a true 3-down look, like kind of like what you saw last week against the Arizona Cardinals, like we'll kind of see if they're able to even get some of those. But I think there's a variety of looks that you can get from this team. And I think that could be a good challenge, especially, if you're looking at another 3-down team, if Mike McDonald decides to start getting a little more exotic with some stuff, just as they continue to build their process over there in Seattle. Like that could be a really good challenge for this offensive line. But anything that he wants to throw at them, like I think would be great for Andy Reid, for this offensive line, for this evaluation process as they're kind of trying to grow through things, because time's running out. We're not going to have visibility on what this team is doing anymore because training camp's over, and now you're only going to get preseason exposure, and that's it. Everything's kind of behind the scenes now. Everything's kind of behind closed doors, essentially. Any of the meaningful snaps and practice stuff, like we're not really going to have any visibility on it. So this is a good opportunity.
Yep. And I'm just going to some specifics of what I want to see here is I want to see, Josh Simmons, we talked a little bit about like his hands coming in a little bit wide, being a little bit more of like a catch blocker rather than somebody that was striking the pass rusher. But again, when you only have 2 true pass sets in a game, a couple other that are like with chip help and stuff like that, you're going to go back to what you're like, your just status quo block is. Whatever is like your de facto setting, that's what you're going to use when it's just such a few reps. So if he gets a few more, I would like to see him mix up his approach. I would see his hands be a little bit more active and just show some of the change ups so that we as fans selfishly can see that, okay, he's not limited to just blocking this one way. Because I do think that there are going to be paths where that leads to some losses. And then on the interior, yeah, Kingsley's been off balance a few times. Like we have seen that. You would like to start to see him correct that going forward. If he's coming off of a double team, you want to see him sit down into his hips a little bit better and not get so high, and then keep his base a little bit wider, whether it's on a rundown or a pass play, and not get knocked off balance to where you get out of the hole. Like there are very clear things that we saw in that first game that I don't want to say are all 100% negatives, but things that definitely need to be worked on if you don't want better players in the NFL, especially over a span of 60 plays, to start to take advantage of. So let's start seeing you build on that first experience you had last week, build on it this week, try to focus on doing these things. And I'm sure the Chiefs coaches themselves have these other specific things that we're not talking about now that they want them to improve on, but you just want to see that improvement. You want to see a steady increase in consistency, techniques being used at the right time, whatever it is. So there's some stuff that you can like look out for from both those players, here in the second game against the Seahawks.
The KCSN Foundation is having their pre-tourney raffle. You're running out of time if you want to participate. This is an opportunity for you to help do some good and support a lot of great initiatives here locally in Kansas City. We are doing a lot of things with the KCSN Foundation to help feed the homeless, children's literacy, honoring our friend Therese Paler, and much more. So this is a really big opportunity, and one of the big things every year that we do to try to raise money and help love on our city. If you would like to help support the pre-golf tournament raffle, we have 5 great prizes: a Chris Jones signed jersey, an Xavier Worthy rookie card, a private tour for 10 at Holiday Distillery, a Dwayne Bowe signed red jersey, and a Rashee Rice signed white jersey, all being raffled. Your donations will go towards that raffle. 1 ticket for $10, 7 tickets for $50, and 20 tickets for $100. You can Venmo us at KC Sports Network, or you can go to givebutter.com/KCSN Golf. The link is in the description of the show if you want to participate and support. And the winner is going to be drawn on that football show on August 18th. So still a little bit of time to check that out. One of the things that we wanted to talk about too is continuing on the trenches. It's just flipping the sides. The defensive line, the pass rush, wanting to see some steps from them. There's still some young players getting included into this group and getting, acclimated. There's some young players, but I think overall just wanting to see some growth, taking some steps and see an improvement in what we saw of the pass rush from week 1 to week 2.
Yeah, I don't think the pass rush was overly good for the Chiefs against the Cardinals in the first week. Now Chris Jones barely played, George Karlaftis barely played. That's clear, and Charles Omenihu was out there. He played a little bit more than those guys. I don't think that his impact was overly felt. I also don't think he had a ton of pass rush reps, and those are kind of your 1 through 3 in terms of generating pressure. They weren't giving it 100% in that game. Probably being a preseason game, they weren't playing a ton. So we'll see what it does. It opens the door up for some younger guys, though, because I doubt Chris Jones plays. I doubt George plays that much. I don't know how much Charles Omenihu will play, but probably not a ton. So that leaves the door open for some other players who's going to step up and kind of take into that role a little bit, right? I thought Felix Uzama had a couple nice reps, but they were still a little bit like scattered. It wasn't like it was consistent, and he was playing deep into the game against some backups. So you would like to see him flash a little bit more. Omar Norman-Lott, the Chiefs' second-round draft pick, was better versus the run than I thought he was against the pass. So you would like to see him maybe improve on what he did last week, even though they might be transitioning his position to not be so much of a pure rusher, but do a little bit more. So yeah, I would just like to see somebody really step up and take the reins of this like second unit, the rotational rushers to come in and spell Chris Jones or George Karlaftis, because I don't know if we know who those people are right now, Ken.
No, we don't. Like, I don't think anybody's really like ascended and risen to the top. I think there was, lapses and rough spots for a lot of different players along the defensive line. Like, I came away pretty whelmed with what you saw to Jerry Tillery, Omar Norman-Lott, Ashton Gelati. Like, I'd like to see some of these new faces take a step and try to really help make some improvements to this team. And one of the bigger losses on this team last year was Tershawn Wharton. Like that is one of the biggest, if not arguably the biggest loss. Him, Justin Reed, probably the two biggest losses that this team endured over the offseason. And, like they've got to try to find a way to replace his value, and not just replace his value, but like hopefully get better, because the pass rush was not up to an acceptable level with what you saw to Wharton and the rest of that defensive line. So you really need some of these players to be taking a step up in 2025, and you need these new players to really insert themselves into this rotation, into this lineup, and give this team some confidence, some depth, and some ability to affect the passer outside of what Chris Jones is doing, outside of what George Karlaftis is doing. They've got to find more support, and I don't think you saw enough to get super excited about that pass rush in the first preseason game. And this is a big opportunity for them to do it again, right? Like, and I think you saw Grady Zabel had some rough moments in his first game in the National Football League, like last week. So like this is a player that I think like there's going to be opportunities along the interior, I think, to generate some pass rush. And it's not like Charles Cross is a good tackle, and it'll be a good challenge for the edge rushers against these guys. But I think there's some gettable opportunities for them. I'd like to see this team take advantage of those and really just kind of put together a good performance on the defensive line.
Yeah, and I mentioned earlier, I would like to see Felix kind of show and flash a little bit more consistency in this game, similar, to what we've been talking about all week with Omar Norman-Lott. I thought he's gotten better versus the run since he's been in the NFL, but we'd like to see a little bit more as a pass rusher. So like this would be a good game to really jump out with that. I also think Ashton Gelati has a chance to do a little bit more. He just needs to calm down a little bit. I think you love the effort and you love the pacing he plays
Absolutely.
with, but you got to do it controlled. It's got to be a little bit more controlled chaos. It was just a lot of chaos in that first game. And it's his first time he's played in the NFL, first time he's got to play football in a while, right? So like, it's not overly expected, but there are rush lanes. There is run fit responsibility. You do have to use your energy, but also within your assignment or in your space. You can't be everywhere. And it just felt like he was a little everywhere, probably wasting some energy, wasting some movement, not being overly efficient in his own just like movement and rush attempts. So I would like to see him harness his effort like he was able to do at Louisville, but harness that effort into specifically doing what he's doing on that play and not having to run 35 yards to make a tackle 4 yards downfield because he overran the play and had to double back.
I'm really excited to watch these young guys. I just overwhelmingly excited. Like, I think that's one of the big things for me is just watching this rookie class continue to get opportunities. And with some of the starters sitting, this is a great opportunity for them to get more reps. And we can't wait to see that. We're going to take a break and we'll be back with more 5 things right after this.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
I'm BJ Kissel, founder and CEO of KC Sports Network. Emprise Bank has been with us from the beginning. They were our first network partner, and they believed in the vision of what we were building from the start. I can't speak to any other banks or companies and how they operate, but I can tell you from personal experience and based on the growth of the network you're listening to right now, that if you have banking needs, call our friends at Emprise Bank. We've worked with so many great people there over the years, from Vicky and Aggie to Andrea, Lori, Jackie, Deb, and Aaron, and not to mention so many others that not just supported KC Sports Network, but supported our KCSN Foundation as well. But the best thing that I know is that if I have a question or a problem, no matter how dumb the question is, I know who I'm going to call and who I'm going to talk to, and I know that I'm getting an answer from someone that I can trust, and I know that person is there to help us. That's why Emprise Bank has always been and continues to be our partner in Possible, and they can be yours too. You just have to reach out. If you have a banking need, whether it's business or personal, hit me up. I will connect you directly with the same people that have helped us build KCSN. And that's our friends at Emprise Bank.
Folks, nothing beats hanging out with the boys on a hot summer day and watching some baseball. And the simplest way that you all can get in on the action is to download the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. It is crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats for 2 or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. And the best part is, Pick 6 is available right here in Missouri. Don't miss out on the fun. Don't settle for a smaller payout. Switch to Pick 6, and right now, new customers can get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Here's what you got to do. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and then use code KCSN. That's code KCSN for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Void where prohibited. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Bonus picks expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see pick6.draftkings.com/promos. Folks, you do not have very much time left at all for our KCSN Foundation pre-tourney raffle going on right now. We have a chance to win some phenomenal prizes for us here at the KCSN Foundation, benefiting all of our programs at the KCSN Foundation as well. You'll still have post-game to get your tickets in, but if you want to get them now, you have the opportunity to win a Chris Jones signed white jersey, Xavier Worthy rookie card, a private tour for 10 at the beautiful Holiday Distillery in Weston, Missouri. You have a Dwayne Bowe signed red jersey and a Rashee Rice signed white jersey. You can get one ticket for $10, 7 for $50, or 20 for $100. That is a bang for your buck right there. You can Venmo at KC Sports Network or go to givebutter.com/KCSN Golf. Myself and Joshua Briscoe actually will be drawing on That Football Show on August 16th. Briscoe will be in for Matt Verderam, who you're going to hear from very shortly, as him and I give you one thing to watch coming up next. Late night game against the Seattle Seahawks. Kansas City Chiefs after dark action is what we're getting here. And we're gonna see some of the nitty-gritty of this roster, Matt, specifically on the offensive side of the ball and with this wide receiver room. The Chiefs did get some interesting news on Thursday when coming out that, Rashee Rice isn't going to be suspended for the first 4 games of the season. How that affects the wide receiver calculus, I don't know. We'll have to find that out. But going into this game, a lot of the starters not going to be playing in this game. We know for a fact that Rashee Rice won't be playing in it. Hollywood Brown won't be playing in it. So we could see a little bit of a different jumbled up wide receiver room, much like we did in week 1 against the Arizona Cardinals. What's one guy in that receiver room that you are keeping your eye out on?
Sky Moore. No. Jalen Royals.
There we go. Yeah.
If you watch our show, you get it. Jalen Royals. Look, he had 3 catches in the first game, and I thought he has been good in camp all the way throughout. He's gotten better and better. This is the kind of game you throw the ball to him, 6 times.
Yeah.
Like, this is the kind of game you ask him to run a bunch of different routes. You ask him to move all over the field. Like, you try to get an idea of, like, what does he know? What can he do? He's a guy that I'm looking at as, I know he's making the team, obviously, but is his rookie year going to be like special teams?
Yeah.
Is his rookie year going to be a mix? Is it going to be something where at the end of the year, like Worthy and Rice the last couple seasons, you're like, okay, this guy's really come on. Like, if they're healthy at receiver, he's not going to be out there 80% of the snaps. Like, that's just not going to happen. But I'll be curious to see if he's somebody who gains trust as the year goes on and maybe gets more and more recognition offensively.
Jalen Rose looked good in that first preseason game too. There's a couple times where he got the ball out in space and was able to make some guys miss and make some things happen. The only thing with Royals, so he kind of turns like a boat sometimes. He's pretty stiff in the hips, but you can't have everything, right? He's a later round pick for a reason. If he did have everything, he would have been gone in the first round. Nevertheless, I'm excited to see what he can do and what he can add to the offense in the wrinkles and some of the things that he's able to, the routes he's able to run as well. Maybe it opens up some concepts for the Chiefs to run a little bit more. You see a lot of his college tape. Maddie Lane and I talked about this on 21 Questions. Ran a lot of the digs, on the dagger routes, dagger concepts. He ran a lot of the digs underneath. Maybe they'll be able to incorporate that a little bit more. One of the guys I'm looking for, Matt, is Tyquan Thornton. Obviously, he's been the biggest name, the big buzzworthy name of training camp, but he was able to make his way out there with the ones in week 1. I did mention that Hollywood Brown, Rasheed Rice didn't start with the ones in that game. Is still out there with the ones is not nothing. I mean, he still was able to be out there, and Patrick Mahomes threw him a pass, although unofficial, threw him the first ball that he had the opportunity to throw. But Tyquan Thornton's a guy who finds himself, I think he's a pretty darn close to a lock. I think he's in pin. I don't think he's in Sharpie on the roster, but he can find himself on Sharpie after this game if you see a good performance put together, if he gets out there a little bit more on special teams, get to see him maybe return some kickoffs, return some punts. He's got to find his way in more than one role on this football team if he really wants to cement himself on this roster, with kind of the calculus being a little wonky with now the Rasheed Rice news coming out. So that's going to be interesting, and how he reacts with he had a really good catch to Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew threw him a ball. And he had a catch in that game against the Cardinals. Want to see a little bit more of that and see what he can do on the offensive side of the ball, because he's dusting guys. He was dusting folks on the Arizona Cardinals defense that were actually going to be playing on Sundays.
I just want to see just for the takes and for the content. I want to see him go for like 8 and $1.70.
Dude, yes.
Like just in like one half, like just absolutely annihilating 3 different corners. Just so people can be like, oh my God, wide receiver 1. Like just give me give me the Tanner McKee treatment for Tyquan Thornton. Like they shouldn't even trade him for a second. I want that. I want that in my life. But yeah, I mean, right now, look, if they keep 6 receivers to start the year, you've got to think it's obviously Rice and Worthy and Brown and Royals, and then it's probably Juju and it's probably Thornton. I don't know that you'd even be able to argue that. I think it would have to be those 6 guys as we sit here right now.
Those have been the 6 best receivers. We'll see how everything does shake out and shape up. If you are hanging out late in Kansas City, or really anywhere if you're watching this game, we'll be live after the game at KCSN postgame show. It's just going to be Ken Swanson and I holding it down. Maddie Lane said no shot I'm staying up on the East Coast to do that game.
I get paid enough to do this.
Yeah, he was out of it, and fair enough. Mahomes probably not going to play a whole lot. Starters probably not going to play a whole lot. Nevertheless, we'll be there. We'll be breaking it down. So let's go ahead and send it back for more 5 things.
We got the Only Weird Games crew here for 2 of the 5 things. Looking ahead for the Kansas City Chiefs, a late one in Seattle against the Seahawks. Seth, one player I do think we can assume we're going to see quite a bit of is Jeffrey Bassa. He played a lot in week 1. You reviewed his film in the Chief in the North newsletter. What did you make of the Chiefs rookie linebacker?
I really like a lot of what I was able to see. He was able to play a little bit with a lot of the second team guys and guys that do see snaps with starters. He showed a lot of fluidity in coverage, good instincts. Those are the things that really helped them succeed in college. And that's always what you're looking for with rookies, right? We've talked about this a lot with Josh Simmons. Are the traits you showed in college showing on the field? Are they showing more often than one snap? Because everyone's going to, have a snap or 2 snaps where something really shows up. But does it show up consistently? And in coverage, he looked comfortable. He understands route combinations. For again, small sample size, preseason, etc. He looked good diagnosing stuff. He sniffed out a screen, followed it from the other side of the field, was trying to point other guys to it, was yelling at someone when he missed a coverage assignment. He showed some really solid signs of being a guy who can maybe do some of the stuff that Drew Tranquil's been doing the last couple of years. It's
Mhm.
going to be important because Drew Tranquil is in something of a contract year, given what his third year looks like in the extension the Chiefs gave him. So with Bassa, I'm hopeful that he plays a ton of snaps, maybe even all of them, maybe even gets a starting nod. That'll be interesting. That's one thing I'm
Right.
watching for,
Right.
because Cochran and Jones were both playing above him in preseason week 1. It would be interesting if you saw, because they like Jack Cochran, it would be interesting to see if he was able to vault someone a little bit, would maybe show that they liked what they saw from him as well. Seeing him get to play most of the game would be really nice to again see. He showed good instincts as a blitzer, really good instincts. That ability to disguise and then time and get through the exact right spot in the line. There's an art to blitzing that makes the difference of 0.1 second. And that 0.1 second is the difference between being pushed wide and being just before the runner even gets the ball. There's a dude in a Chiefs uniform just standing there in the A gap in all his glory. And then he tries to bounce outside, but Charles Omenihu just dominates a tackle, and Jaden Hicks is there and is huge. So it's like, that's what Jaden Hicks does. He shows up and he's gigantic.
Yeah.
So that sort of thing, he didn't collect the tackle on that play, but that had the domino effect. So I want to see more of that, just because he's a guy that has a skill set that is pretty unique to what the Chiefs linebackers have right now. So I want to see a lot more of him, and especially knowing that we're probably not going to see anything of Drew Tranquil.
Correct.
Nate, on that note, I got last week's snap counts here because I do think there's an interesting thing about the hierarchy of the rest of the room. Obviously, Tranquil didn't play against Arizona. Nick Bolton, Leo Chanel were on the field for the same 8 snaps that first full defensive drive they had there. But then it was Jack Cochran next up, and he played a little bit into the second. He played the second drive and then left the game. Then it was
Right.
Cam Jones, who got banged up and then returned later on. Cole Christensen was next up. He played a huge swath of the middle of the game. And then Bassa got involved and played a lot and played all the way to the end, along with Brandon George. What did you see at training camp? Is there a clear, is it as easy to you as saying that Jack Cochran's linebacker 4 right now? Is that settled law? Is there a battle between Jones and Christensen and Bassa? What do you make of sort of that next tier in the linebacking room behind Bolton, Tranquil, and Chanel?
Yeah, one of the things I do think Jack Cochran's probably linebacker 4 if you had to make the decision ahead of Friday's game, and that will probably stay the same. So the question then becomes: do the Chiefs keep 5 linebackers or do they keep 6? And interestingly enough, because we assume now that Rashee Rice is not going to be suspended, you might not have to have 5 linebackers to keep 7 receivers. And so I do think there's a world where, hey, maybe it's Cam Jones and Jeffrey Bassa. I'm not sure what's going to happen with Cole Christensen, but I know that maybe you have a better chance of bringing him back via practice squad. That's just a guesstimation at this point. So yeah, we need to see Bassa these next 2 preseason games just to see like what he's capable of. Can he show continued growth in terms of his play? I love watching him just be very athletic and yet still have the ability to like be a above average at this point in the preseason, to be average in sort of the coverage department. So hey, someone on the Seahawks, I don't know who the quarterback's going to be necessarily, but someone should target their tight end just so we can see what he looks like in true man-to-man coverage when the ball arrives, say, on time and it's accurate. So I would like to see that. But yeah, I think he's definitely worth investing throughout the course of the rookie season. It's just a matter of, again, can he supplant Cole Christensen if Cam Jones is another veteran guy that you can count on and rely on special teams, because Jeffrey Bassa looks to be a guy that you could obviously develop on special teams as well.
Let's talk about some other guys who are going to be getting targeted in this game late Friday night. Christian Fulton, don't expect to see out there. The way that things are trending, don't expect to see much, if any, of Trent McDuffie. Jalen Watson is clearly your other starter out there. He's in the concussion protocol. No reason to rush him back for a late night preseason game. I think it seems like everything's been kind of okay on that path, but no reason to rush him out there.
Yep.
So you have a lot of corners who we've talked about quite a bit. Najee Johnson, Chris Roland Wallace was playing more safety, I think, against Arizona than corner. I'm not sure exactly where he'll settle in. But Najee Johnson and Joshua Williams, we saw a lot of last year. We've talked about them for a number of years now. And then Noah Williams, to me, was kind of the quietest maybe the quietest rookie draft pick throughout
Yes.
training camp coverage. You can shed some more light on why, or if you agree with all that. But Noah Williams made a couple plays on both defense and special teams against Arizona. I'd love to see him get a large workload against the
Yes.
Seahawks. What do you make of specifically Najee Johnson, Joshua Williams, Noah Williams, who are probably pushing for 2 spots? I don't think anybody thinks Noah Williams' spot is in danger, but I want to know where he fits
Right.
in the rotation.
Yeah, I mean, I want to just see, like, if it was up to me, which it's not, obviously. It's up to Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo. But if it was up to me, I would say, hey, Najee Johnson, you have whatever left side, and Noah Williams, you have the right side for the whole first half. Like, I think we kind of know what we're going to get with Joshua Williams. That's okay. I know some people have suggested, hey, maybe you would do a player swap. Like, hey, like the old Travarius Ward drafts or
Parker
trade.
Eager, Charvarius Ward swap. Yeah, let's do that again.
So you could do that. Hey, I need a whatever. I need a running back, or I need a whatever. Like, maybe you could do a player for player thing. So, hey, we could reserve him for the second half, try to keep him healthy. At some point, it's going to turn for Najee Johnson, right? Right?
Might as well play while you're out there. If it's still rust, if there's still a doubt about your knee or whatever, this first half of the preseason game is all yours. Yeah, I think you want to see it, right?
Yeah, so I want to see those guys in press man coverage, which is obviously the rudimentary part of the Steve Spagnuolo system. And let's see who the better man is against, whether it's the Seahawks 1s, if it's the Seahawks 2s. Again, we're not totally sure on their plan at this point, but I want to see Noah Williams on the field more often because of all the things that you said earlier about the starting rotation, basically. And I think for special team reasons, Najee Johnson has the experience, has done well in special teams, so he probably still has an edge there if he's not on the field taking defensive snaps. But in terms of the investment you made, it's nice to see Noah Williams have a good snap or two on defense, much like we saw him do on special teams. There's a tenacity to him. There's some fun element. You could tell, like, hey man, I'm ready to go for my first time on an NFL field. All right, so let's see it, in the second time, and let's see you go up against guys who are maybe on the back end of the 53-man roster for the Seahawks offense. That's my thought, Josh. Again, there's got to be a world where Noah Williams at some point chases down Najee Johnson through the course of his rookie season. But let's start the race on Friday.
And that's a great way to look at it. Start the race in earnest here now. Just get the reps out. And look, man, if Najee Johnson has a great first half in this preseason game,
And great.
you know who's mad about that? Nobody. I don't
Nobody.
think Noah Williams would be mad about that. He's fine. He's not going anywhere. These
Right.
guys are going to have to play at some point. Like we saw this last year, and obviously Christian Fulton hasn't gotten fully up to speed, and Trent McDuffie's been durable, but he missed time at the very beginning of his career, and obviously Jalen Watson's missed time on a couple occasions. It's football. You have to have depth. You've got to have 3 corners you like. It could be on the field together any given time. You're going to have to go 4 or 5 deep over the course of the season. I would absolutely love if we see what you just laid out there, a full half of Najee Johnson, Noah Williams. Get out there, play some outside corner, and let's see how it goes. I would love to talk about that after the game. I would love to have that be a little data point for a rookie and a player who the Chiefs seem to really like. And Najee Johnson's had some tough moments on big stages, but the Chiefs keep standing by him. So let's see it again on Friday night at a game that begins at 9:00 Central Time. For Seth Kaiser and Nate Taylor, I'm Joshua Briscoe. Those are 2 of your 5 things from the Only Weird Games crew.
That is going to do it for 5 things here on KC Sports Network. I'm Tucker Franklin. Thank you so much for staying locked in with us here at KCSN as we are getting you ready for the Chiefs' second preseason game of the year. It's going to be a late one, but we'll be up right there with you. If you are still hanging out, you are still up after the Chiefs preseason game against the Seattle Seahawks. Ken Swanson and myself will be live, and we will be rocking and rolling as soon as that final whistle sounds. Well, maybe a little bit early, too. We'll have to find out, but really do appreciate you. Make sure to like and subscribe here on YouTube. Also, follow us wherever you listen to your podcast. We really do appreciate you guys getting ready for the Chiefs' second preseason game. Hey, get involved in that pre-tourney raffle that we got going on. We'll be hitting it hard on the post-game show as well, but get those tickets in all kinds of great prizes. The raffle is insane this year. We've really stepped up our raffle game this year all across the board. So make sure go check that out. And we will see you guys after the Chiefs take on the Seattle Seahawks.